Sandy was an ordinary girl living in a quiet little town where nothing interesting ever happened. Every day felt exactly the same. She would wake up early, go to school, return home exhausted, eat dinner alone, then spend the rest of the night scrolling through her phone until she fell asleep. Sometimes she wished something exciting would happen to her, something that could change her boring life forever. But deep inside, Sandy believed real adventures only existed in movies and books. That night, the rain poured heavily outside, while cold wind hit her bedroom window softly. The city looked completely empty under the dark sky. Sandy sat on her bed wearing her oversized hoodie, watching random videos on her phone, while trying to ignore the strange feeling growing inside her chest. Suddenly, the digital clock beside her bed changed to 2:33 a.m. At that exact moment, her phone vibrated. Unknown number? Sandy frowned nervously before opening the message. Don't look outside. Sandy stared at the strange message for several seconds without moving. Her eyebrows slowly tightened in confusion, while her heartbeat became slightly faster. She tried convincing herself it was only a prank from someone at school, but something about the message felt deeply unsettling. The room suddenly seemed colder than before, and the sound of rain outside became louder somehow. Trying to calm herself down, Sandy placed the phone beside her and laughed nervously. People are seriously weird. She whispered quietly. She pulled her blanket closer and attempted to ignore the strange. Then her phone vibrated again. Another message from the same unknown number appeared immediately on the screen. I said, "Don't look outside, Sandy." Her smile vanished instantly. Sandy's breathing slowed as fear slowly replaced her confusion. How did this stranger know her name? She never shared her number with anyone outside school. Before she could think any further, the curtains beside her window moved slight. Sandy slowly walked toward the window, while trying to stop her hands from shaking. The rain outside made everything blurry, but something felt terribly wrong. After a few seconds of hesitation, she finally pulled the curtain aside. Her heart instantly stopped. A tall figure dressed completely in black was standing across the street, under the heavy rain, staring directly at her window without moving. Then her phone vibrated. Unknown number 2:34 a.m. Terrified, Sandy grabbed her phone quickly and tried calling her best friend Emma. Her fingers shook badly as she pressed the call button over and over again. But every attempt failed instantly. No signal. That made absolutely no sense because the internet had been working perfectly only minutes ago. The lights in her bedroom suddenly flickered once, then twice. Then the entire room fell into complete darkness. Sandy froze in silence while fear tightened painfully around her chest. The only sound left was the heavy rain outside and her own breathing. She slowly reached for the flashlight on her phone, desperate for any source of light. Before she could turn it on, another notification sound echoed through the dark room. A new message appeared on the screen. "He can see you now." Sandy's blood ran cold instantly. Her eyes slowly lifted toward the window again. The figure standing outside had completely disappeared, but somehow, that terrified her even more than before. Sandy could barely breathe as she stared at the now empty street outside her bedroom window. Her mind desperately searched for a logical explanation, but nothing made sense anymore. The strange messages, the dark figure, the sudden blackout, everything felt like a nightmare she couldn't escape from. Trying to calm herself down, she backed away slowly from the window and held her phone tightly against her chest. "This isn't real," she whispered repeatedly. "I'm just imagining things." Then suddenly, knock, a soft sound echoed from somewhere inside the apartment. Sandy froze immediately. A second knock followed. Knock, knock. It wasn't coming from the front door. It was coming from her bedroom door. Fear spread through her body so quickly that her knees nearly gave out beneath her. She slowly stepped backward while staring at the dark doorway across the room. Then a quiet voice spoke from the other side. Sandy opened the door. Tears instantly filled Sandy's eyes as the voice outside her bedroom door repeated her name again. The sound was soft, gentle, and painfully familiar. Every memory of her mother suddenly rushed through her mind at once, making her chest ache terribly. "Sand, please let me in." Her hands trembled uncontrollably while she backed further away from the door. Deep inside, she knew something was horribly wrong. Her mother could not possibly be standing outside that room. The knocking became slower, louder. Knock, knock. Sandy looked desperately around the dark bedroom, searching for anything that could protect her. The flashlight from her phone barely illuminated the room, casting strange shadows across the walls. Suddenly, crash. The bedroom window exploded open violently as freezing wind burst inside. Sandy screamed and fell hard onto the floor while rainwater splashed across the room. Her phone slipped from her hands and rolled beneath the bed. For one horrifying second, complete silence filled the room. Sandy crawled backward across the cold floor as terror completely took over her body. Her breathing became uneven, while her eyes remained locked on the shattered window beside her bed. Slowly, painfully slowly, a pale hand appeared from the darkness outside. Long black nails scratched against the glass as the creature pulled itself further into the room. Then another hand appeared. And another. Water dripped from its body onto the floor, while strange cracking sounds echoed from its bones. Sandy wanted to scream, but fear had completely stolen her voice. Finally, the creature lifted its face toward her. Its skin looked unnaturally pale. Its eyes were completely white, and its smile stretched far wider than any human smile should. Sandy covered her mouth to stop herself from crying out. The creature tilted its head slowly while staring directly into her eyes. Then it whispered in a distorted voice, "You were never supposed to see us." At that exact moment, Sandy's phone lit up beneath the bed. Sandy's entire body froze as the dark figure slowly crawled through the shattered window. Rain poured violently into the bedroom while broken glass cracked beneath its hands. The creature moved unnaturally, bending its arms at impossible angles as wet black hair covered most of its face. Sandy forced herself backward across the wet floor, breathing harder with every second. Then the figure suddenly stopped moving completely. Its head tilted sharply toward her in silence. A voice came from beneath the dripping hair. "Why did you leave me alone?" Tears instantly filled Sandy's eyes because it sounded exactly like her mother. "No," Sandy whispered shakily. "You're not real." Lightning flashed across the room, revealing completely black eyes, staring directly at her. Then her phone vibrated beside her with a terrifying message. "Don't let it touch you." Sandy screamed and rolled sideways just as the creature slammed violently into the wooden floor beside her. The impact shook the entire room while its long fingers scraped across the floorboards, leaving deep black marks behind. Sandy quickly grabbed her phone and ran toward the bedroom door. But the moment she touched the handle, knock, knock, the sound came again from the other side of the hallway. Sandy's heart nearly stopped. If the monster was behind her, then who was outside the room? A soft voice whispered gently through the darkness. Sandy's sweetheart opened the door, her mother's voice again. Behind her, the creature suddenly started laughing in a horrible broken tone. Sandy slowly turned around and saw it standing unnaturally tall, as both voices whispered together, "We found you." Sandy backed away slowly while the creature twisted its body unnaturally across the ceiling above her. Its long fingers dug into the wood, leaving black scratches everywhere. The bedroom lights flickered rapidly as the knocking outside the hallway grew louder. Bang, bang, bang. "Open the door, sweetheart." Her mother's voice sounded soft and loving, but Sandy knew something was terribly wrong. Behind her, the creature suddenly laughed with a broken, choking sound. Then both voices whispered together, "We found you." Sandy screamed and grabbed her phone before running toward the closet. The bedroom door burst open behind her with violent force. The hallway outside was pitch black, except for two glowing white eyes floating in the darkness. Sandy jumped inside the closet and shut the door tightly while covering her mouth to stop herself from crying. Outside, slow footsteps dragged closer across the floor. Then everything became silent, and suddenly someone whispered beside her. Sandy froze completely inside the closet. Slowly, she turned her head toward the dark corner beside her. A pale little girl sat there quietly wearing a dirty white dress. Her black eyes stared directly into Sandy's soul. "The house is awake now," the girl whispered softly. Before Sandy could speak, the closet door started shaking violently from outside. Bang, bang. The creature screeched horribly while scratching deep marks into the wood. The little girl quickly grabbed Sandy's wrist with freezing cold fingers. "You need the basement key before midnight," she whispered, "or it will never let you leave." The closet door suddenly exploded open. Sandy screamed and ran into the hallway while the creature crawled after her across the walls and ceiling. Family portraits crashed onto the floor around her as the entire house shook violently. Then she suddenly stopped. At the end of the hallway hung an old silver key from the ceiling, and directly beneath it, someone was standing dark. Sandy slowly stepped closer while her hands trembled uncontrollably. The figure beneath the hanging key finally moved. Its head twisted backward with a loud crack. Sandy gasped in horror. It looked exactly like her father. His face was pale, his eyes completely black, and dark liquid dripped slowly from his mouth. He pointed weakly toward the basement stairs behind him. "Don't open the door," he whispered painfully. Then suddenly his smile stretched wider than humanly possible. "He's waiting." The hallway lights exploded at once, throwing the house into darkness. Sandy grabbed the key and ran downstairs while heavy footsteps chased her from behind. The whispers inside the walls became louder and louder. "Open it. Let him out." Sandy. At the bottom floor, she finally saw the basement door wrapped tightly in old chains. Strange symbols covered the wood. From the other side came deep, heavy breathing. Slow. Hungry. Waiting. Sandy stood in front of the last chained door in the basement. Suddenly, the silence around her became complete. The door slowly opened by itself. She went downstairs, holding her phone light tightly. The basement was huge, covered with hundreds of photos of her life, as if someone had been watching her for years. Then she saw a dark shadow standing in the middle of the room. It started moving slowly toward her. A whisper echoed, "You came alone." Behind her, the door slammed shut. Sandy was trapped inside with the shadow,